Mono Lake is known for its beautiful sunsets and its beautiful sunrises. Of course, it's right outside of Yosemite, so we had to stop there and take a look before we left. We weren't really sure what Mono Lake was, but it's a mineral water, so the reflection is pretty amazing when you get there. And then you run into what is known as tufa, and tufa are created in the lake bed by vents that release minerals that calcify and petrify, and then as the lake recedes, it exposes them from the vents on the bottom of the floor of the lake. The lake is a brine, and not very much can live there, but it does have two very unique species that live in the water. One is known as a fly that creates its own air sac, and then these flies, they live most of their lives underwater. They get an air bubble around themselves and they dive into the water. And the other is, and there's a big sign there telling you about the brine shrimp, which can even live in outer space. Kind of creepy looking little creatures that we used to know as sea monkeys when we bought them, but they live in the water, and there's trillions of them in there. So there's the flies, and that was where we were at. Gold was first discovered north of Mono Lake by waterman Bodie, whose name later got changed to William Bodie. He and his friend Black Turner were the first to find gold in 1859 up in the bluffs around what became Bodie. The mine that formed here in 1875 had a major cave-in, but the cave-in revealed a huge vein of gold, and it was producing a lot of gold really quickly. At that time, there was only a few dozen people living in Bodie. Once word got out, the mines were purchased by investors and everything else, and by 1877, the town had grown from a few dozen to 10,000 people. There was a total of 30 gold mines established in claims around the hills right here near Bodie. Ended up being 65 saloons, all sorts of brothels and that sort of thing. There ended up being a huge influx of Chinese workers to become the servants for the cleaning and the washing and so on. Not a good place to be. In fact, the name got changed to Big Bad Bodie for a while because of the ugliness here. They said that at least one person died every day when it was at its peak of 10,000 people, and that the jail, which we have pictures of in these pictures, could never hold all of the people that were convicted of crimes, and everything from people murdering their wives in broad daylight to bar fights where 2 or 3 people would get killed. This was a regular thing happening in the town of Bodie. Methodist minister that when they put in a Methodist church here was asked to describe his placement when he came to serve in this church. He says, "This town is a sea of sin, lashed by the tempest of lusts and passions." And he wasn't wrong in that there was tons and tons of stories of crimes of passion committed in the town of Bodie. In 1878, it was really the best year that Bodie had, producing over $1 million worth of gold and silver. But it began to taper off already before the town even hit its biggest boom, because by 1880 it was already starting to slow down a little bit. In 1920, during the Prohibition period, since there was no longer any law enforcement in Bodie because it had settled down so much, it became a drinking town and filled with distilleries and all sorts of illegal drinking, and so it maintained its idea of Big Bad Bodie being a bad place to be. In 1932, however, there was a boy who didn't get the type of cake he wanted for his birthday, and he got mad and went outside and started a fire behind his house because he was mad because of the type of cake he got, and he destroyed 95% of the buildings that were standing at that time. That really forced more people to leave. The last mine still didn't close until 1947. After 1947, fewer than a dozen people ever lived here. There was people who stayed and who did try to maybe do some prospecting or mining in private claims and stuff. And one of those men, he decided that he would lock all the doors on the businesses and stuff when they left and hold them, because people said that they would come back if more gold was found. And that kind of helped the town stay in what is known as arrested decay. In like, there are still products in the general store. There are still coffins in the undertaker. The fire department still had its wagons in the materials that were used for producing some of the things that were going on in the school. All of that stuff remained even after the town was officially dead. When you go there today, there's basically, in various states of decay, on the hills around Bodie, there's still 168 buildings that you can go and look at. Some are walled up and some are open for you to go and look inside. It's kind of a mixture of both. There are rangers that live there all the time now, and that's to protect all of the antiques here. They absolutely don't want anybody taking anything from this, and because it's a capsule, a time capsule that you really don't get to see anywhere else. Even though it's open year-round, you should know that, like in the wintertime, the town of Bodie is at 8,375 feet, and it can get up to 12 feet of snow. So, lastly, there's the legends. One of the legends, even while the town was going, was there was a drunk who killed his wife, and in return, a bunch of men grabbed him and drowned him in the creek that ran through town. And for years, people said they would see him. He would scream and yell at them and shake his fist at them when they'd see this apparition. And they kind of consider him a curse. And it's been a long time since anybody saw him, but while the town was in existence, they said that this was a ghost that was there in the town. There was an Italian family. The Menendoni house was a house that they had children, and people say that who the Rangers have stayed in the house because it was one of the nicer kept houses. But they would say they would hear children playing and laughing and giggling and stuff sometimes while they were trying to sleep at night. The Gregory house it has a story that there's an old woman that's seen rocking in the field in front of the house, and they said if you look at the old map, there used to be a deck out there, and so they see this apparition. She never says anything, but several reports have been they've seen this old woman rocking in a chair, kind of in the air out where maybe that deck used to be. The richest man in town, who owned most of the property in town, John St. Cain, he had a Chinese servant who people in town started the rumor that she was a mistress and she was not allowed anywhere, and his wife wanted to get rid of her, and she ended up killing herself in his house. And people say that they still see her in the hallways of the house. There were several rangers, and they went to an open shaft they found, and they were just going to count to see, and they threw a stone into it, and the stone fell, and they were waiting for it to hit water, and it kind of clacked around, and then a voice yelled back to them, "Hey, you!" And they've tried it again. It's never been able to repeat it, but they know there's no people down in there, so they testify that they heard somebody scream at them, "Hey, you!" So that's another one of the rumors of ghosts in this ghost town. The miners themselves had a ghost that they were afraid of, so much so that some of the tunnels were closed because of it. Apparently a mule got injured, and they shot and killed this mule in the mine and buried it in a shaft in the mine. But many miners, for weeks and weeks and days later, would say they'd see this white mule kind of glowing in the dark, walking down the hallways. And so much so that the tunnels that they were in, the miners refused to go in there because so many people had seen this ghost of this mule. And so they actually have a tunnel they shut down to stop the mule from getting out. There you go, that's rumors. When you have a ghost town, it's always interesting to know why people call it a ghost town. I had some more video that I had taken with my cameras, but for whatever reason, we ended up getting polluted and corrupted files, so I lost them. we did meet a group of overlanders when we were about to leave the town, and they were invited us to come join them for lunch. They were going to a second ghost town, and they kind of gave me the directions and kind of pinned it on a map, and they had left about a half hour before us, and we went and caught up to them in this other ghost town. But it was a really, really cool road. It crossed over into Nevada, but however, I lost all the footage of the road in the corrupted files, so that's the way it goes sometimes. This would be the old state line toll house between California and Nevada, and it also was the toll house between both Bodie and another mining town called Aurora, which was over in Nevada. So people would come through here and apparently have to pay a toll for hauling goods on this road.
Semi-sketchy one-lane bridge, but we made it twice.
We had a great time in the town of Aurora, but unfortunately we lost most of our footage, the video footage. Again, we lost it coming into town and such. We just got the couple of bridges and stuff. But the cemetery was really fun. We ate lunch here with Overland Bound, and then we went and talked to them, got to meet a lot of great people, and then we went on our way. But the cemetery here was really good. There were no buildings in Aurora, just a few foundations here and there and mining equipment here and there. But it was a very neat place to see, too.